they know a lot. They watch a lot of things. And also, ideally,
Right.
you want to see how on top of they are and whatever else. And immediately he's like number 6. And I was like, can you get it? And he's like, yeah, I'll see. And we just handle. And I'm like, hell yeah. So there are dope things about, also not just about having splitting roles between producer and engineer, but having staff that actually knows their thing and being able to have someone else handle those things is, you get to just make other decisions that are the ones you need to make.
It's so great.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, or shorter than what I could make it. Yeah, we ended up mixing that track, and it was made kind of like treated just from demo status. Like they'd kind of just, it was been a basic written thing. Maybe he'd done it all. Maybe Fitz had done it all by himself. I honestly can't remember. And yeah, so there's probably, I'm sure, less than 40 elements in the mix, including like stems of vocal, background vocals and things like that. So pretty sparse overall. In terms of pop, you know what I mean? Pop productions, a lot of those can just get into
150.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Go on.
So relatively sparse overall, and that's what happened.
I just love the way the bass, even though it was such like a thin bass tone, it worked so nicely in the song in context to the kick and the rest of it. Like that was one of the coolest things. I guess that the sonic of that bass really made the song.
That's sick. That makes me happy to hear.
In my opinion.
Yeah,
coming from a biased bass player.
It is like there's so much, and as someone also that plays bass, I don't know, and I like basically a lot of pop productions come down to me is whatever the rhythm is in terms of like, it's because they're not necessarily drums, but whatever rhythmic element's happening, your bass element and your melodic lead melody element. That's where the narrative is. I find that is, I talked about where I can't multitask. And I think like hearing, I think it was like Chad Blake who basically said, in a mix, you can kind of only functionally hear 3 to 5 elements anyway.
Right.
I remember seeing something like that. And I'm kind of, at about 3, maybe 5. Like I'm kind of like 3 a lot of the time. And so it's like, what's important in a song? And there are songs that's not the case. But functionally, in popular music, a rhythmic element, the bass element, and the melody are kind of it. That's the song. And when you get those to function right, you get to pepper in whatever else, wherever else you want to do it. And that's kind of up to you. But yeah, those are kind of like the trifecta of the whatever.
Nice. No, that's amazing. Who ended up mastering that track?
It's actually, she works at the same studio where Manny works out of. Michelle Mancini, I believe, is her name.
Awesome.
And she did a pretty damn good job.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you send off tracks to getting mastered? Are you kind of open to what the mastering engineer is going to bring, or are you nervous?
This is an interesting question.
I don't know, just kind of feeling it out here.
Yeah, no. And it's interesting because I feel 2 ways very differently, both at the same time. It's nerve-wracking and feels a little self-defeating, and feels kind of masochistic in some ways to give someone money. Like, if you went through and if I got the mix to exactly where I wanted it, and we don't even care about loudness wars to some extent anymore, because I can easily get something to -12, which everything's getting maxed out at anyway, supposedly online. And frankly, I didn't even know that it needed to be that high in the first place. I like being able to turn music up really loud. Like, I like to be able to turn music up really loud, and then also being able to put on the song again. If I can't listen to the song more than once, that's kind of a bummer. I like to wear songs out and then never listen to them again. You know, I want to use it fully. You know, like I'm going to abuse that song, and so everyone else will not even want to be like, dude, I cannot listen to the song again. But yeah, so doing that and then paying someone else for the opportunity for someone to potentially mess up what you were already okay with, seems kind of crazy. Also, because this has happened to me before and more than once, where money was given either by the client or by myself to someone to do a good job and do QC, and I found that it was demonstrably worse when it came back than when I sent it. On the other hand, mastering can be really useful. It can be so useful, and having that last set of quality control also just gives you not full responsibility, so you don't have to sit with that on your brain for whatever, because it is going to be that way forever. So just from that functional aspect alone, might be worth something. It's kind of like having your like tax person sign off on your tax papers, where it's like so that you're sending it to the government, being like, okay, someone else agrees with me. I'm not standing alone. You know, and that sometimes
It's a great analogy.
Sometimes that's a thing.
Yeah.
I think it's like tax deadline either yesterday or today or something like that.
I think it's today. Today's the 15th, right?
Yeah, I think it is. So I guess I'm somewhat abreast of current events, somewhat aware. But not just that is, I know when I master things, when people send them to me, I only focus on it for 20 to 30 minutes at a time. I mean, sometimes actually, if it's a very intricate thing and someone's sending me something that they worked really hard on, at least I assume with that intent, put a lot of energy, birth something, whatever else. Sometimes things do take 2 hours to master and whatever else, and it's worth the extra effort. I find that, frankly, usually you only need 20 to 30 minutes, and that's your primary window where you're going to do whatever good you're going to do. And because I care about it when I do it, and I know how much people love them when they get them back from me, and so often it's not about how loud it is, even though I can make things significantly louder, but I don't like smashing things because why? Like, what's the point? Everything automatically adjusts volume levels. Anyway, as long as you can hear it on an iPhone, okay, who gives a shit?
Right.
But I see the difference in how much people love it, where they're like, damn, this is never... When I know what I can do for them, then I know that there's someone that can do that for me. And so I have a few people that I know of that do good work. And a lot of times also, I'm not asked for that Sometimes I'm asked for the recommendation. Sometimes artists, because they care about what they're doing, have already decided who they're using for mastering. And so it's that little fun thing. You're just rolling the dice and be like, hopefully this is better than how
Than it was before.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's totally exciting. Yeah, I've kind of just been feeling recently like I need to let go of that last like 3% or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to lose my mind because I just have no more objectivity and I can't. It's too much of a emotional, and I probably won't do it right. Like to do the the final QC.
Yeah.
Amazing. I guess like, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience working with artists and like balancing their vision with your own vision?
I would kind of love to talk about it and also feel totally unqualified because I learn more new things every day about how stupid I was up to that day, or the things I thought I was operating on as correct. You always just take in new information. You learn new things about yourself and about how people operate. One of the biggest things I think that it comes down to that I have a criminal problem with, I mean that dramatically because of how big of a thing it is knowing your role. Anytime anything goes on in life, I feel like it's easier for me to focus on things that are not my responsibility than the responsibilities that are given to me. It's much more fun to focus on all the other things than the thing you're actually supposed to be doing. It's also the way to ruin a project. And I guess I mean that in worst case scenario, but just frankly, straight out, it's a way to either ruin a project or even if you ended up with something good, which I think you decrease the odds of that being likely, you also make everyone miserable about it. And if they feel bad about it, how are they going to share it with anybody? You actually just potentially, and maybe I'm being dramatic again, you're kind of robbing them of a specialness they do this because they like it generally. I mean, I guess some people do it for therapy because they need to. Actually, that does happen more than I think about now that I think about it. But it is like, I don't know, man, everyone's only alive. Well, for all we know, everyone's only alive once. And so you get that bit once. And so you want every bit of those things to be, especially in the process of music creation, to be as like special and good as possible, because why would you not want that? And so, yeah, one of the most obvious ways that that is the thing is like, if I'm mixing something, I don't worry about decisions and when I say I don't worry about, I mean, this is what I struggle with intensely, but I don't worry about the decisions they made beforehand about why the arrangement, possibly less than stellar arrangement, or maybe just a few missed opportunities in arrangement, are going to affect a mix, because I'm not the producer on the track. So there's a certain thing of trusting in the confidence of the people you work with, that whatever decisions were made in the time were the decisions that are going to be, and you do the job with the roles and responsibilities that you have. You do the best on that job. Everyone else worries about their shit. And I think sometimes it can be worthwhile to mention things, but then also you figure out ways to mention things with tact and sometimes maybe not mention them. But like, and also when you do things, one thing I do historically with people that I've seen is I gaslight people where I'm good at illuminating problems and potential things. My dad's an editor. I'm good at finding problems with things and identifying issues because that's how I am. If you
audio engineer flaw, it's just what we do.
If you and also I should be clear, he's a word editor, like a book editor. So it's a different thing, but same subset. So, if you illuminate problems without providing a solution, you're gonna make people miserable. It doesn't matter.
Then you're just a dick.
You're just a dick, whether you intentional or not. You're just a dick. Being very mindful of what role you are hired to do, or what role your involvement is, even if it's just for fun, or whatever else, and keeping that in awareness to yourself, and also like communicating about those things very explicitly up front about like. Even like when a mix comes in, what do I like about, asking people, what do you like about this mix? Also, what don't you like about it? Otherwise, like, why are you bringing this to me? If you loved it, why am I here? And so finding both of those things is really nice so you don't stamp all over someone's flower bed of what they created. And yeah, it's funny that they're actually very basic things that are really important. Just do the job that you were asked to do.
Love it. So things are getting a little bit late. It's getting a little bit late here in Israel. So I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But I do want to ask you a couple more questions, or really just one more serious question.
Okay.
So you've clearly had like a long journey where you've been doing this kind of work in lots of different locations, and now you've been in LA for such a long time.
Sure.
What's one thing that kind of at the beginning of your career you either wish you knew about, or you realized you did it right that you'd want to impart on the listeners of the show?
In a lot of ways, I think you asked really good questions now that I'm thinking about this, because a lot of what we just talked about are probably some of the fundamental things to me that would need to be imparted. Probably most primarily the thing that is the thing I still struggle with the most, which is still the thing I wish I could have gotten hammered into my head earlier so I didn't still deal with that, is the know your role part. Occupy the position and do the job that is necessary for you to do. The other things that go along with it, I think even scale back to early things we were talking about. You don't get anything that you don't try for. And I knew that already, but like didn't know it to the full effect. And actually, it's not trying either. It's not trying. Anytime I legitimately want something, I get it. Like for most of my time in life, like if I actually need to make something happen, the universe kind of just works. If I actually need, you know what I mean?
Right. There's like this concept of people, I don't know, I'm blanking on the word is, but they visualize it happening and it happens. There's a word for it.
Well, when you can't, and this is also, even you see people succeed in this business to some extent, there are so many reasons for why that can be, but one of them often is like, a lot of people somehow either have a mental thing or something in their past or whatever else, where they don't have an ability to not do what they're going to do. And so, like, they have to. And when you have to do something, you do.
Right.
Which is kind of, yeah, I don't know. So it's kind of a cool thing where you also means it frees you from overthinking about things too much is you just do it.
Amazing. So, Justin, this has been really, really fun, and we've explored, like, really cool, new, interesting topics I've never kind of delved into with other guests, which has been really fun.
Cool.
No, this has been like I feel like we're both in like a zone where we needed to kind of go to these new places.
This was super enjoyable for me, and so I'm glad you let me meander all over, and it was really fun. Yeah, talking, man.
Awesome, man. I'm happy about that. And so, how can our audience find you on the internet?
Oh, tell them don't. No, that's we already talked about that earlier.
If they want to do more,
So I have stuff. I have a website that is whoisjustinlong.com. So that is probably the best. That's probably the best way to find me.
All right, amazing. Any social tags I should link to?
I do have an Instagram account that I don't upkeep, and I have a I'm just not sure about social media, but I will tell you what it is. It's the Justin Long. And there are some like random little recording photos and things like that.